Live. And so it is Tuesday at 7. We are live with... Now, do you go... I see often Matthew, Mark, Hunter. I like the three names. Do you go officially by those three names, or do you go by some other moniker?
I go by Matthew Mark Hunter. My full name is Matthew Mark Hunter Jr., but I just go by Matthew Mark Hunter for the film stuff.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for joining us this Tuesday. You know what? We thought we were going to be in Columbus, and we aren't in Columbus, but what we have is what's going to be a fun, I think, exciting journey to talk about Matthew's journey and what I call you have been doing the reps. You've been doing the reps, and what I mean by doing the reps, when I say doing the reps, for those of you who don't know, we're talking over 130 films, right?
Yeah, we're getting to 134 coming up.
That is nuts. So people are signing on. Hey, Karen, it's good to see you. Tom, we're glad that you joined us. For those who share, we're in a few minutes, we're going to show you the share giveaway for next week. And I know why Karen is joining us. Karen's joining us because she got the signed underwear from Taco Truck, and she loves the memorabilia. So we're going to have a great journey. So for those who share, we've got a great giveaway next week. We're going to give folks a little time to sign on, and then we're going to jump right in to Matthew's story. But last week, Matthew, we interviewed a guy. His name is Paul Grimsley. That's his real name. Paul was born in the UK and went to school there. As he got to be kind of that young adult, just graduated from college. This was when the internet was really jumping in. So the 90s, he decided to go to an open mic or like a reading, and he jumped on a plane, left the UK, went to New York City for a mic night, and it was just like a one day, and he flew back, and he connected, fell in love with everything that was going on here, ended up packing his bags and moving from the UK to the US of A, and stayed here, and he is a machine like you are. I mean, this guy produces writing, sci-fi, poetry, whatever. He is a machine, and so. For those of you who missed last week, you should catch it because it's a really good interview. But in the meantime, I know that the screen is small. I usually like to reach it, but I'm going to, for everybody who shared last week, Paul is going to do a personal writing for the winner. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose the name out of the hat. I usually open it up. And so the winner is, flipped around, is Jess Adenich. And I know that she is a frequent sharer. So, Jess, we will connect you with Paul, and you're going to get some really cool stuff. So, as people are signing on, I think we're ready to go. And what I usually do, Matthew, is I start off with a question, and it's just a Roger question. It's just something that is of interest to me. And I'm going to just start off, and I'm going to say there were a few things that I enjoyed watching growing up. I'm assuming that you had some similar drive. Munsters, The Addams Family, Scooby-Doo. So I'm just throwing those three out there. Do any of those kind of resonate with you, and if so, why?
I watched all three of them, actually, and I still do watch the Munsters more than Addams Family and Scooby-Doo, but growing up I did watch Scooby-Doo a lot. And the best part, of course, was for Scooby-Doo, the monsters, before they got unrevealed. They just had so many opportunities to show different creations and monsters and creatures, which is awesome to see. Even the older stuff to new, because they're still doing it, and they keep popping them out left and right. But then the Munsters and Addams Family, it's hard to find like entertainment nowadays that's also like that, for like a horror like a more Halloween type of TV show, like how they have Tales from the Crypt and Creep Show and things like that happening. But it seems like it's getting limited on this stuff, so it's good to watch some of those.
So, some of those classics, yeah. It's funny because I think that there's a lot of folks that that grew up watching, and we catch those reruns because we are big fans of that type of content. We have Jessica Snyder's on here, Beth Turner. She says, "Hey, Matthew, Mark, Hunter, have fun with the infamous Roger Miller." Bob and I send hydro hugs, so thank you, Beth, for jumping in. Again, we have others that are already joining in and participating. Remember, this is live. Hopefully, you're participating live. If you are, you have the opportunity to throw some questions out, which we'll ask. And if you're not live and you're watching this as a repeat, you can still ask questions, and we'll probably get back on those as well. So thanks for watching. Tell us where it all started. That's just a general question. I mean, where did it all start for you?
As a younger age, around 3 or 4, my parents got me into horror films. I would watch any kind of horror films. The filmmaking part happened in 7th grade, my English class. We had to write a script and we get extra credit points if we filmed it. And I was the only one who actually did something for film-wise. And it was my first film, which was a Puppet Master fan film. I had all the puppets from Full Moon, and everyone in school thought I actually made them. And it wasn't, because no one even knew what Puppet Master was at the time. But it started in 7th grade, and the film that got me most interested in making movies was The Willies. And followed by that, now my favorite film overall is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is kind of a vibe I like going for. That more comedy horror is what I'm getting into, with being bloody horror with an 80s twist for the logo. I've just always been watching 80s films left and right for it, but it started in 7th grade.
Started in 7th grade. What did you film that on?
I had my mom's VHS camcorder I used for the film, and I still use it for some films. And I know for a competition coming up, I filmed on a VHS camera, and I actually edited half the film on a VCR.
And I know that's with great intention. Share with us that intention, as well as, I don't call it, but it's a recognized image, is even a video cassette with your MMH Productions on it. So tell us about that.
Yeah, when I went to CVCC, Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, during high school, junior and sophomore year, they were teaching us how to do all the After Effects and creating videos before going to college. And I'm also an avid VHS collector. After doing the VHS films, I collect a bunch of horror VHS tapes, and I've just always been connected to watching films on the VCR compared to streaming or DVDs, even though I have a lot of DVDs. But there's always something about the VHS tapes that's like a good feel to it. Sometimes the lines go through it, so it looks more vintage, and I just prefer the VHS look more than newer things. So that always came into play for my type of films also, where I would do things with like puppets and dolls. Everything would be practical effects also. Making our own monsters instead of CGI also. So it's just always been a thing for me to go back to the older and get the kind of style.
So 7th grade, as part of your assignment, you kick out your first film. What happened? What happened after that? Were you like, did you catch the bug then? Did you just start cranking them out, or was there a time period between first film and second film?
After the first film, I kind of started writing and shooting the second film. For the first film, I had my cousins in the family, and the second one, I also had my cousins. But the second film, actually, we never finished because they didn't want to keep doing it. So I only have like 5 minutes of footage I found recently, because actually the camera was like broke. So recently I had to fix the VHS camera. But it was a big break. It was mostly just me writing the films on my typewriter, and I just kept writing the films. And then junior year was Cuyahoga Valley Career Center. And then that's the time where I started pumping out the films in 2016, mostly 2017 is when I started pumping out film after film. We used to shoot one every weekend in the summer.
Now, for those who were not on when I first pressed the button, maybe you're watching this on repeat, we're talking not like 3 films or 13 or even 30. We're talking over 130 films. So you said 134, right?
Yeah, there's one we're working on right now, and it'll be number 134.
134. I mean, that's doing the reps. So you find yourself catching the bug, 7th grade, high school, start to really pump this stuff out, shooting films each weekend. What does that look like for a high school student, right? I mean, like, do you just like start up that camera and improvise? Do you write a script and do some storyboarding? Do you how do you recruit your actors and your locations? What does that look like in high school?
In high school, it was harder starting out. In the beginning, it was mostly just me doing most of the stuff. But then I found a bunch of my friends at the time who aren't friends anymore, but we would get together in the summer. And sometimes it would be like, we're all going to meet up at this house, one of our friends' house, and we'll just randomly think of a film. We'll shoot it. And then I know one weekend we did 3 in one weekend. And then we just started making plans to go to different houses of ours and film different things. And eventually it just got more in depth, and I started posting casting calls, and I started getting new people on the films. But a lot of the older stuff that's available on YouTube, it's a lot of the same actors and crew on the films. But that's what happens when you're starting out in high school. Plus, everyone's working for free, and it's just to get things out and do it for fun.
Yeah. What were some of those first titles, those high school titles?
My big one was my first feature film, Dark Side Stories, and when I was 17, and that actually won an award for Best Artistic Ability for the Bronze Award. And that kind of piqued my more cockiness for making the films. But some of the other titles were Hot's Tub Party, Hot's, like a bunch of snakes were in the hot tub, Pizza Man, we did a Krampus film, Killer Christmas. I mean, there's so many. That Horror, we did the Guillotine, Little Fishy. There's just a bunch to name off.
Yeah. Those early films, you said that, is it right that you said your favorite film was Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and you like the feel and the kind of the comedy, the kind of that genre? You said that was your favorite, is that correct?
Yeah, it's my favorite film, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
And did your early films and perhaps even your more recent films, did they kind of reflect that inspiration, kind of that feel, or how did that affect your work?
While watching those kind of films, and I'm also going to throw in Puppet Master in the mix and Dolls, because it was those two that also got me into the things. And a lot of my films, you'll see me operating dolls, toys, stuffed animals, and clown puppets. And then also we would create creatures with masks and gloves or makeup instead of doing like a CGI monster. So we'd have someone in the full costume creeping out, doing all the practical effects of it, reaching out like in Killer Clowns. All the clowns are in suits. We also had people in like a giant pumpkin suit we created, and we created another one out of duct tape, actually, for a duct tape suit. And then one of my good friends, Ron George, came on recently, and he made like the mask for the Boogeyman, so we created another monster. So it's a lot of creating our own monsters type of feel too.
Yeah, for sure. I love that old school practical effects. Let's just create it, let's shoot it, and let's see where it goes from there. The 134 horror film catalog is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's a lot of films. Like, what motivates you? I mean, like, this is nonstop, pump it out. What keeps you going?
It's just, I just keep writing and keep thinking of ideas. And I just want to film it and get it out there. I don't know. It's just something in me that's like, I want to film. I want to get it done. Recently this year, with a lot of more issues I'm dealing with, it's been harder for me to pump out as many as I used to. Mm-hmm. We're also working on some bigger stuff, so I'm limiting how many I do just to work on the bigger things. But at the time, it was like, okay, I just want to think of an idea. Let me look at a random prop in the room and let me write a script about it. And then we got to it. Like, a lot of our stuff is inanimate objects coming to life. We did a washing machine killing me, a little box. Croutons killed me. We're doing cootie bugs coming up. An elliptical is going to kill me. So it's just random items I see sometimes. Thinking, well, let's have that just kill me. I just want to, and then I'll just start writing. I have so many more projects that are just on paper that I have no time to film also, because I just keep nonstop pumping them out.
Tell us the process. And so you had mentioned, I see a prop and I see an inspiration or an idea. What does that process feel like? In other words, where does an idea come from, and how does it get to finished film for you?
So if I was, if I took this clown for an example, I would see it and think, okay, let me start. I would used to write it, the first draft on a typewriter, and get ideas out. Then I would transfer it to paper on the computer and write it out more detailed. And then I would start by thinking, how can this thing kill me and how would I make it work? Do I need voiceover in the film? Is the creature, how many people should I have on board? Because a lot of times I'll bring in more random objects just to have more people provide voices to get them out there more for fun. I'll film the project as soon as I can. And then as soon as we're done filming any film, even like my bigger budget ones, that night we're done, I usually edit the whole night. And then I come back to it a few days later. But it's just like as soon as I'm done filming, I want to get right into the editing mode and getting it out there. And then after that, it's finding film festivals, putting it on YouTube or distribution and seeing which one I want to do for the film. But most of the time when it's like an object I find, it's going to go on YouTube, just because I can keep pumping those films out left and right for more people to see things and add to the IMDb.
And the thing that caught my eye because it was just unexpected is croutons. And so tell us about that, right? So, and tell us about that and then tell us like how the process of getting your voice on a crouton.
So in general, I like eating croutons. I'll just grab a bag and eat croutons. And I was thinking, I want these croutons to kill me. And I was thinking of ways that they could kill me and showing scenarios they could be in. And I'm all over the top cheesy. It mostly was inspired by Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or Attack of the Killer Donuts, another food object. So I would, for that one, there was no script created really. I just wrote a list of lines for people to read as croutons, and then I put them in the film. And I know I would put on Facebook, I still do it. If anyone wants to be in a film, let me know. And I'll write them a role or as a voice in the film. So I had a couple people say, hey, I want to be a crouton voice. So I made sure everyone had at least one line that was different so they could hear their voice. And a lot of times it was all the same voices, just so everyone has that one line and they can hear themselves. And as soon as I had the voices, I decided to write scenes of how many people for each scene. And I would write more scenes if I had more voices also available. Because there's one scene where I'm just in a bathtub and one of the croutons is just watching me take a bath. And then they start kissing my leg and then I just eat it and I don't realize it. And that one was just added right on the fly because someone wanted to be a crouton. So I said, I'll just have a crouton kiss me while I'm naked in the bathtub. It's just random stuff. And then I know a lot of people have been asking about doing a longer version or a part two, which I don't know yet just because of my schedule, but I know it's one of the fan favorites that people are like, can I be a crouton next? I get a lot of people saying, can I be a crouton?
It's magical. It's a magical thing when you're watching it from afar, right? And part of the process. You're like, where the heck did that come from? And I understand your process. I think a lot of folks think that the unique ideas are difficult to come by. When I find artists or creators who are continually creating stuff, sometimes they'd say that that's not the case. In other words, one idea then breeds many ideas. Is that true of you?
Yeah, when I am thinking of an idea, and like even while I'm writing a story, another one will just pop in my head, and then I'll just make a side note like on a Google Doc to get back to it another day of, hey, I have this idea, and I'll write all the notes for it, and then I'll just come back to it another point and go back to what I was actually writing. But it's just, they pop out randomly sometimes too when driving, and then I'll just write them down and then come back to it later. It's nonstop.
Tom Klein says, that is great. He would definitely be in one. I think he's talking about crouton. Eddie Hunter says, Papa watching with Grandma. And John Kathleen says, doing one of the crouton voices was fun as hell. And so we got people watching, and we thank you for doing this. Hey, show us real quickly. We're going to take a quick side note. For anybody who shares this video, just share it to your friends list or share it to a group or share it to some friends. When you share this video, next week we're going to put your name in a drawing. And if your name is drawn, they're going to get some, not only swag, but they're going to get some memorabilia. You want to share that with us?
Yes. So the first thing that they would get are 3 stickers from the company. I'll attach 2 wristbands, and then the big prize is a screen use prop from one of my recent feature films, and I'll sign it also, because we had about 6 of the crab hands, but one of the crab hands used in Danny Hall, the Killer Crab Elf, will be signed and sent to you, and it was used in the film. So, there's even some dried blood on it still.
So not only will you get swag, but you get a autographed crab hand used in the film. So in a few years, when you can't even get a touch with Matthew Mark Hunter without going through his agent, and he's won some national awards. We see him in black ties walking the red carpet. You'll say, I have his freaking crab hand, and I can use this Tuesday at 7 episode to go ahead and validate its authenticity. So share it, and your name will be in the drawing next week. But while we're on that topic, tell us about that movie, Danny Hall and the Killer Crab Elf. That's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it was. So that was based off of Troma's The Toxic Avenger was one of the ideas I got for it. So it's a disrespectful boy who he goes to Carl Russell Lexington's house because there's secret green barrels there, and they check it out, and he puts his hand in the barrel, and when he pulls it out, he gets the crab hand, and even after that, he's going through a phase of turning in also part elf, so he has elf shoes on, and he's not able to swear anymore, so every time he needs to swear, he'll say a Christmas saying like, son of a candy cane, or you stupid eggnog. He'll just switch the line. I'll just switch the lines up for that. And that was another film where anyone in the area who wanted to be killed off in a movie, to let me know, and I would write them a scene in the film. And there's a scene where Danny Hall's just walking down like a street, and you can see like times change, like I have different facial hair. One scene in different clothes, just because it was just more random stuff. But I was able to kill off. You'll just see me walking down. It's just kill after kill. I know the cool one is we took a candy cane and we shoved it up a guy's butt, and it came out of their mouth at the very end. We had locations. We used the hot tub for a film, a cabin in the woods we went to. We were going all over the place with the film. And then it's just, at the end, it's Danny Hall, the the Killer Crab Elf, versus Carl Russell Lexington, the Octo-Man, and he has one arm as an octopus arm at the end of the film. And then they have a little battle scene, and then it's the way it ends is I had some of the cast and crew, if they sent in them singing a Christmas song, I put it in the end credits. But during the end credits, me and Carl are talking back and forth, and there's like a little hint of saying, get ready for the sequel for the film also, which would be fun to do also. But that film is an hour long, and it's actually available on my YouTube channel, MMH Productions, to watch the full film. It's already been accepted into 2 festivals. It's actually up for it's in a judging status where if you go to a certain link on a website, the film that has the most views at the end of April wins an award for the best feature film of the month, which is from DMOFF.com, Direct Monthly Online Film Festival. That's for their competition, but it's been a very talked about feature film.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch that. So Ron Gillespie is watching, saying sharing now. Bronson Allison, Livermore TV is here. Kurt Owens is watching. Guys, share this because you have some swag and some memorabilia, right? Movie memorabilia that'll be given away. Signed Killer Crab Claw. And then when we go back, we're going to go back and put some links here. So as you're watching this, you can click in and get a chance to vote on that film. Maybe we'll send the link to Croutons so you guys can watch Croutons as well. Great stuff. And then I want to come back to your 134 plus films, but I want to take a quick detour here. And the detour is going to be, tell us a little bit about Matthew and Ophelia's Wonderful World of Fun, because you're not just a horror film guy. You're doing some other things too, and I'm kind of interested in hearing a little bit about that and your other side projects.
Yes, Matthew and Ophelia's Wonderful World of Fun and Edgar and Vespera's Spooky Storytime are 2 kids shows on my kids YouTube channel. Matthew and Ophelia's Wonderful World of Fun has about 28 episodes so far. We're actually working on I'm editing the next 6. I took another couple weeks off because of a bunch of things happening in April, but they should be coming out back in May every week, Sundays at 10 in the morning. But that show's more about lessons and teaching kids, just regular ideas on TV shows. So we all use puppets also, but like one episode we're talking about how to say please and thank you. One episode we're talking about the death of a family pet. The next episode is going to be about dealing with divorce in a family. We're going to do loss of a family member. We do more fun ones too, like I can't think. It's okay to be different. Making mistakes is okay. A lot of things that you would see like on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood type of vibe or Sesame Street, and all for that show. And then Edgar and Vespera's Spooky Storytime is hinted at maybe a higher age of kids, and that's doing more. We're just reading more scary stories. In a dark room and other scary stories. The striped ribbon. It's just more spooky items. And then we'll also talk about a spooky fact of the day and talk about the authors and then back to Matthew and Ophelia. We also do, the letter of the day we'll do sometimes. And then we also have arts and crafts on the show to teach kids how to do an art and craft at home.
So you're catching your viewing audience early, right? Doing some really good stuff, teaching your younger viewers some important lessons. You kind of introduce them to hook them into maybe some spooky stories, which as a kid I would have loved to watch the spooky stories. And then at some point, what age would you say would be the appropriate age to make the big transition from spooky stories over to your films, your horror films?
So the first thing I would say about this is when I first started doing the kids show, a lot of moms were complaining in the beginning after seeing the IMDb, like, how can this horror filmmaker do a kids show? And this is before they probably even viewed the episodes. So they always thought, like, oh, he's going to get our kids into horror, and he's going to talk about it on the show. And on every episode of the show, there's no mention of any of the horror films. Anything that's been in a horror film, like even the clown, he's nowhere to be seen. I keep all the puppets from the kids show separate away from the horror films for the most part. So like you won't see the main owl in the horror films. So that was a big problem I was dealing with in the beginning, but I didn't care what they think, because there's so many people, like everyone who's the voice of the puppet has been in one of my horror films. Even the 4-year-old boy who's the voice of one of the turtles, who's the voice of the turtle, Torrance, he's been in my horror films. So it's the thing where you can do horror films and kids show and you're a totally different person. I don't associate anything with it. But for me, like I said, I watch horror films at like 3 or 4. That's because my parents said you can watch whatever. And then they would just show me, like, for an example, Freddy vs. Jason. Before the film played, they showed me behind the scenes to show, hey, this dude's in makeup or this guy's in a mask. And here's a picture of them before and after, just so I wasn't scared of them either, which that helped. But even with everything changing in 2020 and 2021, it's more about how the parents feel about things. Me, if I was a parent, I would let my kids watch it at any age and just explain it to them better. But it mostly depends on the parents, how they think. But I would say for the most part, some of the films on there are more for like 10 and up, if I just had to say a guess for nowadays. I know we're having a hard R film come out April 30th, but it will be where you have to be 18 and older to watch the film, like a little thing you have to actually have your age and information in to watch it. So it really just depends on the parenting for when they think their kids should make the transition.
As I was looking through your catalog of films, I saw films like you had mentioned before, Terror on the Elliptical, Wolf Baby, Hungry Like the Wolf, right? That's maybe your subtitle. Cootie, Dinopede, Clay, of course, The Killer Crab Elf, 3D, Infection, Leprechaun. I mean, you're covering all over the gamut. What are some of your favorites out of and that's gonna be hard because that's kind of like saying, you know, which of your children are your favorites, but you've done 130, and so as you look back over your catalog and folks are watching and they're saying, okay, well, what do I start with? You would say which films?
For the older stuff, a film that I've always liked a lot that has like barely any views on YouTube is called Rats. That's one of those super ones that have no views that I really liked. I like Killer Christmas, and we recently did a sequel to it, but it's coming out later this year. Daniel Hall the Killer Crab Elf is one of my favorites, and then my ultimate child would probably be Nightmares Unleashed. That film's not available on YouTube. The director's commentary version is. But that's might be changing because we're actually redoing that film in 2024, and we're shooting all year in 2023. We're turning into a feature film, 70-page script. It's going to be a huge film with a budget. And that's probably my favorite child because we're actually rebooting the whole thing all over again in 2 years. And that was 2018. We made the short film. But yeah, I really like Rats. Easter Massacre is one of my favorites, but that's another film festival type one. There's The Easter Bunny on YouTube, and I haven't changed any of the older films yet because they want you to change it to, is this available for kids or not? And that was before the algorithm changed on YouTube. So that one's still available to anyone to watch, and that has like 125,000 views. It's just got a bunch of kids writing comments on it, which I need to probably fix that just in case. But, I mean, we're bringing out some newer ones. I think I'm going to really like Cootie when it comes out next month. And on April 30th, when Deadly Numbers comes out, that one might be another favorite because it's looking to be about 3 hours long of a film.
You're from Ohio, right? And do you do most of your shooting in Ohio, or do you travel sometimes to different areas for actors and locations?
For the most part, it's been Ohio. The farthest I've went for one of my things is about an hour and a half away. But I know we're going to be like near the edge of PA in 2023 for a film. But for the most part, it is in Ohio, mostly because the cast and the crew that audition are from Ohio, and it's easier. We've always shot in Ohio. I went to PA a few times for other projects, but not mine. So for the most part, it's basically all filmed in Ohio.
Tell me about your equipment. What do you shoot on? What do you edit on?
For the most part, I shoot on a Canon T5i, and then we'll shoot on the VHS camcorder, which is with the VCRs right now. And then some of the films we shot on this little thing, a Handycam. We used to shot the YouTube films back in 2017 for the summer things every weekend. We would just film on this because it was grab and go guerrilla style. We used to shoot in locations we didn't have permission on, so it was an easy thing just to hold and walk and just leave right away when we were done without them noticing. I don't use too much audio equipment. I have a add-on to the camera. I have like a boom mic and audio equipment, but I haven't gotten into it as much. Some lighting. Sometimes we use the phone, a flashlight on the phone. I have lights. I use those sometimes. And then for editing, I use Adobe Premiere Pro. And sometimes for the intro credits or, mostly intro credits, I'll use Adobe After Effects. And then for making the posters, I'll use Adobe Photoshop.
So you write, so you come up with a concept. You write. From what I understand, you act, or you're killed in many, if not most, of your films. You shoot, you edit, you create posters, you push this out into social media. You're kind of like a one-man band. Tell us about some of the people that surround you to say, yeah, I've got a small team that just stick with me. What does your team look like, and how's it changed over time?
In the start, I had a team of friends that some I graduated with. I'm not going to say probably any of their names, but two because of things. But the two that were most by me were Sierra Valley, who used to do makeup for our films, and then Harley Casper, who would do some camera and mostly audio for the films. Recently, for the biggest group of people who are always on set, Ron George does a lot of our makeup. So does Caitlin Allen. John Kathleen is one of our actors who comes on set a lot. He'll supply voiceovers for the films. He's one of my close friends now for the film, so I always keep him in the loop for things. But there's him, Ron George, Kayla Rocco, Caitlin Allen, Layla Chapinar, Ayana Gallo. Angel Reed's been on a lot of our things recently. Krista Dotson's been on a couple things also. A lot of the people, it's the same people you'll see in the films recently. I like bringing on some of the same faces, but also I bring on every now and then, like, hey, you're a new actor. Come on, if they're interested. I like having new faces, but I always go back to the ones I can rely on. I know they'll come out and, like, let's get this going. Madison Hudak's been on a couple of things of mine. But for like the main set crew is probably the people I said in the beginning. Ron George, John Kathleen, Kayla Rocco, Caitlin Allen, Layla Chapinar, Ayana, Angel Reed, Krista, and all those people are usually also most of them part of the kids show also, who do the voice of the puppets. So it's a lot of times it's the same group. And I know BJ Hasselhall also does a lot of voiceovers recently for me, and like Joe Philip, I'm gonna mess this up. Joe Philip, Pano, but he's out of state also, so he just sends his voices in and helps out when he can. But it is a good team that I have.
So, shooting horror films, many of them, I imagine that you used a bit of blood over the years. Do you have any good blood stories?
Well, yeah, we used a crap ton of blood over many years. We have a new kind where it's mouth proof and comes off clothes, so I like to use a lot of it now. I know a lot of times when we're getting blood loaded up to shoot in the cast's face and things, it's always good fun. I know one that was funny is we were getting ready to shoot the tube at John for Tales of Chiller Bone Volume 3, and I had everything ready. The camera was on my chest. I had the tube here and had the person to blow it in ready. And then as soon as they blew it, it didn't go enough, and the blood just all came up and it just all landed on top of me instead of him. So there was the one time where I thought I wouldn't get bloody on set, and I did. So I guess it's just something that happens. And then another one is Easter Massacre is a fun one, because at the end, I'm tied up to a chair and I'm getting whipped. And then the bunny comes down with a knife and starts chopping off my hoo-ha. And we had the thing pointed up to her face. But the first time she's fake cutting off my hoo-ha and it shoots out, the blood just goes all over. But I'm laughing during it. She laughed, and my mom's in the background also laughing at this happening. So that's another funny one, is when we had to shoot it again because everyone just started laughing as soon as the blood came out.
Do you keep your bloopers and your stuff? I mean, when you shoot these films, do you release that? Because I would imagine that that's some fun stuff to watch.
Yeah, for YouTube, all the films, even the ones who go to film festivals, all the bloopers and behind the scenes are available on YouTube. I know for the Easter Massacre, there's added ones only on the DVD available. And then for Danny Hall, the Killer Crab Elf, because it came out to YouTube, the only way to view those bloopers and behind the scenes are to buy the DVD with them on it. Just so people actually have a reason to also buy the film too, is you'll see all the bonus content on it when it comes out. But for the most part, every film has bloopers and behind the scenes that came out on the YouTube channel also.
Yeah, John Kathleen said he left there that day soaked in blood and couldn't close his eyelids. Loved every minute of it. Those are great stories that you guys remember for many years. What would you say to folks that are on the front of their film making journey, or wanting to get into films? Like, I mean, you've been doing a lot of them. So, what are some of the things that you learned along the way, and some advice you might give to newbies?
Well, the first thing I would say, when you are making your films and you're done with the first one and you're getting all these festivals and stuff, the biggest thing to do is not be cocky. Because I was very cocky when I first started and doing all these, and cockiness is not something good to have in the industry. Also being young age, because that was when I was 17, 18, and I'm still 20. So you shouldn't be cocky when you're starting out, no matter how old you are. But for actually starting out, I'd say just do it. I know even during COVID times, we shot around 30 films from March 2020 to, I'd say, October 2020 during the high end of the COVID. And even though we shot 30 films, no one on the set got COVID. But it was a thing where people were like, oh, you shouldn't be filming during this and stuff. In my mind, I just want to do it. Even films I'll do by myself, I'll grab my phone, set it up, and I'll just record me doing some things. So I'd say always you want to be ready. I don't know. You just want to. drawing a blank.
Well,
You just got.
yeah. Here's what I would say, because what I feel coming loud and clear is just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
And it's just do it. It's like, let's put it out, finish it, edit it, and get it out there. And that's the reason why you're at 134 films, is because you've been living that out, putting one foot in front, putting your feet on the ground, and just filming and producing. And that's that's something that is pretty inspiring to me. And whether you're a filmmaker or an actor or a fan of this work, those people who do stuff get places.
Yeah, even if it's bad, like a lot of my stuff in the beginning, where I just had like a camcorder or a phone, like some of it has no audio, no lighting, and it's really a bad film. But it's still something to look back on when you get higher up. Like, this is a bad film, but at least I still did it. So a lot of my things I say, well, that's bad, but it's a good kind of bad now, is what I like saying. Even now I'll go back to like, well, for this big film, let's throw in a continuity moment just because, why not? That's something I like doing. Like, I'll throw in, like, you'll see someone in one scene and then the other scene they're in some other place. It's just do it. But I know even if you think it's a bad film, it might be if it's your first one, and you should just put it out there. Good reviews and bad reviews are both good to have. Don't take any criticism like terribly. Like if someone says, "Oh, this is a terrible film," who cares? It's just one person. Like a lot of people will put out like movie reviews of, for an example, that Mortal Kombat film. Like half the people on Facebook were like, "Oh, this is a terrible film. No one should watch," and half the people are like, "It's a great film." And personally, you shouldn't listen to what anyone says except for your own opinion on a film. So if you think it's good or someone else thinks it's good, well, then that's good. Like if someone's like, this is the worst film ever, I wouldn't even let it get to you. Just say, okay, whatever. It's a review.
Yeah, move on, right? Move on. And keep pumping out. In the Fun Mill Film Fest 2, is that coming up in May? Is my it's where one of your films is going to hit the big screen probably again?
Yeah, May 16th at the Atlas Cinema Theater in Lakeshore Cinema. The Lord's Lady is going to play, which is the Fun Mill film that we did. I can't say too much about it, about the film itself. I know after the April 30th is when the films are due. I'm going to release a behind-the-scenes photo of the editing process, because I didn't use like any of the new equipment for filming. I went old school for editing and filming, which is, I think, something that will make it look different than every other submission into the festival. But it is going to come out May 16th on the big screen. During
our interview, today you mentioned, I'm going to be doing something in 2023, or there's part 3 coming out. What lies ahead in the next 12, 24 plus months for you?
So for the rest of this year, we're doing a lot of casting calls for my big film that we're shooting in 2023. Casting for different roles are starting in May all the way up until the end of 2022. For film-wise, I might throw in a feature film this summer to do, but I might also be busy. So the biggest thing I have mindset right now is for Krampus 6, The Snow Beast, because we do a Krampus film every year, and I don't want to break that tradition. And then 2022 is going to be a lot more grinding out pre-production for the big film in 2023. And I'm going to try to get some more filming done. I have ideas rolled up that I might be able to do, but it's going to be a lot more pre-production and getting things ready, getting the cast finalized, locations finalized, a Kickstarter going next year for it, and just a lot more planning for it. 2023 is going to be all filming nonstop for that film. I don't think I'm going to do anything else, just so my mindset's linked on that. Because I know, like last year, I did 3 short films, all in the same time period, and then the dates start getting overlapped, and then you're seeing different casts and you don't know what days are which, and it's more stressful. So I'm trying to not do as many films all at once as I used to do, just so I have a less stressful production value, because I still have films that are in the editing room I had to still pump out too from the past and work on. But I just been doing other things. Like April's been hectic with the Fun Mill getting planned. The Russo brothers 48-hour film which I use Dynopede for that. And then there's other stuff I'm dealing with too. So it's just a bunch of things, but mostly casting for the big film, Nightmares Unleashed, and all the casting goes straight to my profile on Facebook.
Gotcha. So you're connected here. You're tagged in Facebook, so people could, keep an eye on you and your stuff this way. How do they find you on YouTube? What is your YouTube channel?
The main YouTube channel is called MMH Productions. It should be a picture of me with a little thought bubble of all these monsters and creatures. And then the other YouTube channel is Wonderful World of Fun and Spooky Storytime, which is for the kids' channels. They're both on the same channel. But for the horror films, it's MMH Productions. And then I also have short 1-minute videos and clips or behind the scenes coming out on TikTok for MMH Productions. It's all one big word. And then that's the way where I'm getting the films that are only on film festivals and DVDs. I'm taking like 1-minute segments from those and I'm putting those on TikTok.
MMH for Matthew Mark Hunter. You're 20 years old. You have been pumping out work that most people don't pump out in their lifetime. We're going to root you along the way. Many of our watchers are from Ohio. There's people that watch from all over the United States. Some people who tune in internationally as well. Louis Grasso writes, beyond his years, a great young talent and a terrific interview. Thanks all. And before we close, because people are going to be watching, they might speed forward and skip a little bit. When you share this video or share this interview, next week we're going to draw a name. And if your name gets drawn, you get some MMH, Matthew Mark Hunter production swag, which is really cool because this is some, when you go to famous directors to have the early stuff is a collectible. But then the big daddy of them all is going to be actual movie memorabilia shot for which film?
Danny Hall, the Killer Crab Elf.
You're going to sign it?
Yep.
You're going to sign it, and then you even said that there's still some blood, that's production blood, left over from a scene, because that was one that was actually used in your film.
Yeah, there's a little bit of blood, but yeah, I'll sign it up, just my name, or if you want me to write your name on the thing signed out too, I'll do whatever, whoever wins.
Sounds good. Well, I'll tell you what, your journey is inspiring. I love the fact that you're like, listen, I'm just going to get it done. I'm going to do the repetitions. I'm going to be watching your stuff out there as well. I'm going to be watching Croutons tonight just to kind of finish out our interview. We'll be connecting some links here to this interview as well. So if you're watching this interview, scroll down. You're going to see links to some films. And if you're available on May 16th, you get to see the Lord's Ladies at the Fun Mill Film Fest 2. But thank you for sharing your story, for jumping in this evening, and we're anxious to see where you go from here, because you're going to go in great directions. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I know a big thing to look out for April 30th is School of Monsters Deadly Numbers coming on my YouTube. We had 20 filmmakers from all over the world come out. Well, not come out, filmed at home. Each one had a number from 1 to 20, and they had a film of 5 to 10 minute video about that number. And we have people from Ireland, California, everywhere. So that's coming out April 30th on my YouTube channel.
Anything else out there that we should be looking for?
The Lockdown 7 Series 2. That's a film every week. We already had 2 of them come out so far. So for the next 5 weeks on my channel, there'll be 5 new films coming out every weekend. And I believe that's it, besides the kids show starting back up in May for the episodes that I have to get out there.
Sounds good. Well, I'll tell you what, we're fans, and we're going to be watching you go great directions. Thanks again for sharing with us. Guys, share this, and thanks again, Matthew Mark Hunter. Your work is on its way. Thanks again.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.